Hey, everybody.
Hey
Good
there.
to see you all. Welcome back to episode 6.
Six.
Episode 6.
Let's
Numero
do it.
6. Numero 6.
Welcome. So glad you are here. If this is the first time joining us, whatever, something like
You should
that.
join yourself occasionally, yes.
Oh, man.
As you leave the house, join
I
yourself.
might need a nap.
It's been a day, right?
It has.
It's been a week.
But if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are so glad that you are here. We would encourage you to go back and listen to the 5 episodes before this. So, hey, spend your whole day with us.
Right. Make it a whole day. Just,
Whole day.
lay down, relax.
Come and
go
chill
on a
with
jog,
us.
take a ride on a boat or a car if you got a boat. I mean, hey, it's where we live, so.
We do.
If
We
you
are
notice,
very
too,
lucky that way.
Since we're saying it's been a week, I caught something this weekend, and it kind of just settled in my lungs. So, of course, I'm sounding a little ultra low today.
I know, but I told you, I fell in love with you by the way of your deep voice, that
I
deep
appreciate
bass
that,
voice.
but there were so many more qualities.
There are.
At the time.
So many
they
more.
They might have worn off.
Nope. Now they've only grown.
Like fine wine.
They've only expanded.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that your deep voice caught my attention.
Well, is it still
And your
catching
big
your
blue
attention?
eyes. Definitely.
Hopefully.
Definitely.
All right. Well, let's get away from this mushy stuff.
All right. Let's go.
So last week we kind of started talking about what church hurt looks like.
Yeah.
And, we gave a little bit of a overview of one of our biggest hurts at the time and how we had to, walk around like everything was just perfect for us. Yeah. And so today, we want to talk a little bit about other church hurts, but also get into the idea of what retrusting looks like. If that retrust, is that a word? But what trusting a church again, looks like, because, I think in the end, all of us that call ourselves Christ followers, it's our hope that we stick with us till we lay our heads down permanently in this life. And a lot of these things that are going to happen to us are going to happen at church. We're going to run into bad things. We're going to run into bad people, bad leadership. And it's important that, we're not carrying these things from church to church, but also that we're healing properly and learning to trust something that God intended to be healing for us all, for hurting people and places for us to be discipled and grow and be challenged. So let's dive into that, what that looks like today. But so, I'm going to ask you this question, but I want to ask it to our viewers and listeners too, is what would you say is your most memorable church hurt?
Memorable.
Now, memorable meaning that it hurt the most. It set you on a different path. It might have set you on a new path of going to a new church. It might have set you on a new path of quitting church. It might have set you on a path of having to confront, a leader or somebody in a position like that. So what would you say was your most memorable church hurt?
Well, I think we've done all of the things that you just mentioned. I would say that my biggest church hurt was from a church that we just poured our heart and soul into. Our kids were super involved in pouring their heart and soul into that. Friends were super involved in pouring their heart and soul into it. And we were just devastated by the way that we were treated and the way that the church turned their back on us and twisted and turned things, the way that they attacked our children. I mean, I could go on and on about how that affected us and how we viewed the church and our children and how our children viewed the church. And so I would say that is probably one of the biggest, most memorable, as you say, church hurts. And how about you,
because
darling?
you still, in a sense, you're still battling with it. You're still struggling, and there's still a lot of hurt there, and for sure.
Yeah, and I think, because it's not just me that impacted. There were so many people that I love and in our own family and friends that were all impacted by the issues and the things that we confronted and had to deal with. And so there were so many people that were hurt in the process. And I think that's my biggest thing, is that when we are part of a church and the name of Jesus is questioned because of the church's actions, that to me is probably one of the most devastating things. And that happened in my life personally and in our kids' lives. And, so I think, still definitely something that
when you
grieve.
say our kids, explain to the viewers, the listeners, because we want to be a little candid in this one, because our goal isn't to insult a church we were at or bring up names or anything like that, but just explain situations that some of you might have gone through or are going through currently. So explain what that means with that it was against our children, that our children were hurt.
So at this specific church, our children were old enough to understand words and what those meant, and to be able to break those kind of things down. And
they're teenagers. I mean,
they were teens. They were old
Still
enough.
Are, yeah.
This was,
like they're adults,
and this church had specifically said things against you and I, and in front of our kids. They had attacked our children on things that they wore that were completely fine with us, and we're pretty strict about those things, and made comments to our kids about clothes that they had on. Like I said, from then on I only wore ripped jeans, because if that was a problem, then I was going to only wear ripped jeans. But so it was things that where they were personally attacked, either by what they had on or even their hair. I mean, one of our daughters, actually, somebody asked if they just rolled out of bed because their hair wasn't up to that person's standard. And so they personally attacked our kids on their physical appearance. And then they came and said stuff about you and me. And I mean, we had one of our daughters hiding in a bathroom so that she didn't have to hear things from people. And that was just sad. And not just sad, but infuriating that you would be in a place that should be called safe and welcoming and comforting and all of those things, and instead you have your child hiding in the bathroom because they're afraid of having to confront what's being said about your parents, and or
they're afraid of being picked on or shamed or bullied. That sucks. That just straight sucks.
And that's like the tip of the iceberg.
And I just think as adults, I mean, there's really nothing worse than anybody coming at your kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Really I mean, mama bears, of course, but daddy bears, I mean, we're no different. You touch my kids and I'll go to jail. Mm-hmm. I don't. That's not a joke. I mean, I know it sounds funny, but I will go to jail for my kids. It doesn't. It doesn't matter.
I'll bail you out
for any reason.
I will bail you out. I don't know how, but I'll bail you out.
And I hope every dad could say that you would do anything in life to protect your kids, for sure. So
now, to also reiterate this, as I explain that this was my biggest, most memorable hurt, I also want to kind of step back for a minute to say that we took every step possible to correct these things. So it wasn't that all of these things were happening and we just threw our hands up and said, peace out, we're gone. Yeah. Screw all of you guys, I'm out of here. I want nothing to do with anything or any of you. That's not actually what happened at all. We tried to do that the right way and confront those that were saying things and deal with each thing and kind of cross each road as we went through it. And
I mean, to me it was as biblical as we could come because you individually confronted the people, and then you sat with a board member.
I did.
You took a brother with you.
I did.
Like Matthew 18 says, and then you brought it before the leaders of the church, the board, and it just kind of fizzled.
It went nowhere. It was let's pray that your hearts will be changed, and it was okay, let's do that. That sounds great. But I definitely did become a little more mama bear in that time period, and it was just definitely more challenging, especially in a position of leadership that you want to do things the right way. You want to make sure that you're being, biblically sound and biblically correct in how you treat people and talk to people, and you want to be kind and, all of these things. And internally I was like, you're going to go to jail. I'm about to go to jail because I am not, this is not going to work for me. And the mama bear part of me was really struggling. And I still feel, even thinking back on it now, that I feel I handled myself in the most godly manner that I possibly could. I never felt like I lost any sleep over how I responded. And so for that, I'm very grateful that God gave me the ability to handle it His way and not my way, because you didn't have to bail me out.
Good. Yeah, because I'm not a rich man. So you might have to sit in there for a few days in the tank.
Thanks. That sounds so great. I'll call my mom.
There we go. We'll do a GoFundMe for you.
Now, okay, yours. Your biggest, most memorable church hurt.
Gotcha.
Mr. Ritter, what would that be?
Sorry, as I talk with a cough drop in my mouth here. Brought to you by Walmart's Hall's knockoff.
Fair enough.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, gosh. So, I've been, as most people know, I've been a worship leader since youth, when I was 18 years old.
Since the dawn of time.
The dawn of time. Since the times that dinosaurs roamed the earth. From youth into college, became chapel worship leader in college. And then while we were dating, got married. And eventually took my first job, and stuff when we were very early married. So I've been doing this a long time. Worship just to me has been just like riding a bike. It feels natural. It's a gift that God has given me to do, and I've always used it to the best of my abilities. And I think the worst experience I had was being at a church that we were at before being here in Texas, and just again, kind of the same thing, pouring our lives into way more than the hours than we were asked to work.
Oh yeah.
Doing all kinds of stage aesthetics and just everything. We it's kind of my goal was to be the first one at every gathering and the last one to leave.
Yeah,
and I
still
really
to
was.
this day.
Yeah,
we still try to do that.
So, but we were also at the church also went through a couple big, very large transitions from a church split to a new pastor, and then that new pastor left, and then a third new pastor in the years that we were there. And the newest one that was there, I had known for quite a few years from long before he came to the church, and it just seemed like everything hit off really well at first, but then once things got settled in, and I began to just be open and honest and just be very real with him and talk about, my past hurts, my past struggles, that things just shifted from there. And
the respect level changed.
Yeah, it became where everything I did from that point on was just not good enough. And I don't mean that because I just felt that way. It's because each and every week, man, he would just come down on me. If I pray too much, you pray too long on stage Sunday. I don't like that song that you're singing. I don't, your job up there is to sing and lead worship, not talk, and at times I'd share my heart before a song or share a scripture, and he would just tell me to stop doing that kind of stuff. And just week after week after week, it just shredded me apart.
Yeah, definitely.
And I didn't want to do it anymore. I just literally lost that passion. And so, yeah, gosh, it's even as I sit here and talk about it, it almost gets the blood pressure moving up a little bit for sure. But just for the very reason that we kind of started looking, okay, God, what is it you want us? Where is it you want us to be? And that's kind of how we ended up here, for sure. As that time there at that church ended. So yeah, just the biggest hurt there was just by a leader who was supposed to be obviously leading me, but even some senses a mentor and somebody who was supposed to help me in my area of ministry was just tearing me down constantly. And I think it's just because he didn't like something about me or the way things were, or he didn't like how real I was with him, or I don't know to this day. I don't know what it was.
Maybe it was your awesome hair.
No, I doubt that.
Okay, well.
But there was just a shift at some point where I literally realized this in my mind, and I just said, he doesn't like me.
Yeah.
He doesn't want me here anymore, and he's doing everything he can to make me quit so that he doesn't have to fire me. And so eventually that's what happened, and I resigned. And so it's hard to, you can say I moved past it. You can say I've forgiven, I've moved on. We're in a better place. Things are great. We're serving in ministry still, but sometimes you just find yourself kind of stopped in a moment and thinking, man, I'm still really mad. That still pisses me off. That still makes me angry that he treated me that way and no one even knew about it. And I just, so.
Well, and I think that is something that when we've gone through church hurts, that we have been very, very careful with not over speaking. We've been very careful to not overshare what has gone on, what had hurt us. And to some, that's, to a fault, because they want to understand why, or what went on. You guys just took off. What was going on? And so sometimes people don't understand why we've made the choices that we've made, or why, things just got really weird all of a sudden. And I think one of the things that I think all of our viewers and listeners should know about us is that even in the middle of our church hurts, and that's why this is a very, very sensitive topic for us, and we're trying to be very careful in how we approach things, because more than anything, we want to protect the integrity of the church and the church of God as in general, and those are, the people who believe in him. And so we want to be very careful to not give the church as a whole a bad name. And not all churches are bad churches. And let me correct that. There are no bad churches, period. There are people who make bad choices inside of the church that hurt us. But it is people that hurt us, not God. It is not the, church as a whole that hurts us. It is the people inside. And I think that is something that, as we go forward and as we talk about rebuilding trust and what that looks like, we also have to remember that in the middle of our church hurts, in the middle of us walking out and saying, I am never stepping foot inside of that place again. So help me. I don't care if Jesus writes it on the grass in fire. Like, I am not going back. I might have said that to you before. Yeah. But it is understanding that the church is not bad, that people make bad choices. Sure. So as we talk about rebuilding and what that has looked like for us, let's kind of keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, in kind of doing research in this, because, we could sit here all day and talk about our experiences and how we did a bunch of different things like counseling, talking to different people, just letting time heal as well. We wanted to be more specific as to what healing looks like. And so we found a pretty neat article by the author. Her name was Linda Elliott. And she shares seven ways to rebuild trust in the church. And so not that we're going to talk about all seven of them, but
no,
I really want
to really, really hit home for us.
Yeah. A couple of them were steps that we had to take as we made our way back into church, even at times that we had left and just wanted to just go back and attend, not serve, not be on staff, but just attend. It was still pretty tough at times then too. Mm-hmm. So let's look at a couple of these and what they look like and how they played out in our experience. So this first one says, let go of unrealistic expectations of the church, right? It says, I truly believe that churches are hospitals for broken people. I believe that too. When people are in pain, they often cannot care about the feelings of others, and they sometimes make desperate, selfish moves. Those actions may or may not be intentional, but the wounds they cause can feel deadly to the soul and spirit.
Yeah.
So what is that? I mean, what would you say are some unrealistic expectations of the church?
Well, I think that once you've been hurt from a church, you therefore will think every church is going to hurt me now as I go forward. Every church is bad. Every church has these horrible people, these bad board members or bad elders or bad whatever. And so you go into it immediately thinking, well, since this church hurt me, therefore all churches will hurt me. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that is really hard to overcome, is that if I was hurt once, I will be hurt again. Yeah. Shame on you. Yeah. Shame,
Yeah. I know what you're getting.
Yeah.
About to have a George Bush moment there. Twisting that one. Shame on me. Shame on you. And
shame on, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the same concept. The same thing that made me think about that too was what you walk into a new church feeling and what you expect. And you know, a lot of times you're not going in there thinking, all right, I can't wait to make this my new church. I can't wait to settle down, get my kids involved, and get in a small group and start clapping my hands in worship and maybe even join the worship team. We don't even think of that. You're walking in half the time going, all right, Who's going to screw me over this time?
Yeah, and I think that there's part of it that you do it out of obligation at times because you're like, well, it's the right thing to do, so therefore I'll go to church.
Yeah.
And you're not going with the mindset of, I want to go to church and get involved and get my kids involved and, grow closer to Christ. You're in the place of, I'll go because I'm supposed to go, I guess, or because, whatever that looks like. And in turn, you have those unrealistic expectations in place because it's like, well, been hurt before, so here we go again. Why am I doing this again? It's that you enjoy pain kind of concept, but it's not at all what church should be.
Yeah, and a lot of churches, and I know it was big in the 90s. In the 90s.
Oh, in the 90s.
But it was come expecting. Come expecting, was like a catchphrase of the church. And, the goal of that was come expecting great things from God in your life. Come expect family and community and involvement and everything else. But for people who are hurt by churches,
come expecting hurt and pain and sorrow and grief insults. And headaches.
Yeah. Come expecting to be
judgment.
used till I'm bleeding from my fingertips.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something you really have to ask God to check your heart on.
For sure.
When you're walking into a church, God, just check my heart. Because I'm walking into this place still hurt. Mm-hmm. I'm still dealing with everything. And I feel like there is somebody here who's going to do something bad to me or something, and that's just all I'm thinking about. So, Father, help me check that at the door. Help me check all this pain and hurt and garbage at the door to leave those expectations at the door and take up the expectation that you're going to do something new in me, in my wife, in my family. And so that's something I feel like anytime we walked into a new church, any church's doors is something that we have to kind of take that deep breath. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
God,
definitely.
God, heal us. Heal this moment and let us just experience you today.
Yeah. And give us wisdom. Give us wisdom. Is this where you want us to be? Is this what you have in store for us? And so, I agree. Like praying for that wisdom and
what you're saying there kind of leads to number 2 is to pray for God to give you discernment. I mean, wisdom similar along the similar lines there, but to really just show you what where it is you're going because she makes a good point here. So listen to the way people talk and observe their actions toward others. See if you find safe emotional ground before you open up.
Yeah.
Opening up obviously is a bittersweet thing. Right? Because sharing struggles, sharing your heart, your addictions, your sins, the broken parts of your life, there's freedom in that.
Definitely.
There's such freedom in that. And it's even biblical, confessing your sins one to another. Now, there's also the bitter side of that you confess those or talk to the wrong people who aren't about building a relationship with you or just trying to get the most out of everybody they can get in the church to build their church up in the best way they possibly can, and seeing you as a weak link, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where
judgment
where that discernment needs to come in. God, okay, I'm ready to start making relationships. I'm ready to start building community. God, who do you want me to talk to? Who in this church, who in this church can I trust with my struggles? Who in this church can I trust with the things going on in my life? And God, make sure it's the right one. Make sure it's somebody that is listening to me to help me heal, to help me grow.
Yeah. That
it's not somebody listening to gain something for their own benefit or to use it against me. So because that's the hurtful part of church ministry sometimes is that those people do get in. They get in the doors.
Yeah.
And those are the people that Jesus called the snakes and the brood of vipers, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the ones who looked holy on the outside, but in the sense they were rotting inside because they were dark, ugly, spiteful, and cunning and conniving people. And they exist today in the church as well.
Yeah.
So that's where we have to say, God, show me who to talk to.
Yeah.
Give me the discernment to know who I can trust so that my life can be healed, so that my marriage could be healed, so that my kids could be healed, and that I could build a powerful community inside my church.
Yeah, just and I would even say even praying not just for you, like for you individually to have that wisdom and discernment, but also that God would send that person to you, so that there is that connection right at in the start, right when you meet that person. So I would say in that praying for wisdom and discernment, that you're praying that God would just send the right person in front of you so that you can begin your healing process. So
yeah, and I've sat in men's groups. I've sat in all kinds of different groups, Celebrate Recovery and life groups and all these different things, and listening to guys talk. And some of the biggest hurt men have felt in churches is that feeling of betrayal and that feeling of, I opened up my heart, I opened up my life to somebody, and they used it against me. And a lot of times I heard that phrase, I wish I'd just never said a word. I wish I'd just never said anything. And I think today, all these years later, sitting here at this table, that's something I kind of have always felt myself. I wish I'd have never said anything, because I wouldn't have ended up walking away from the church because the way I was being treated each and every week, for sure. So I get it. It's discernment it's a spiritual gift. It really is. You don't just walk up to people and you're able to just read them like some mystic or crystal ball showing. But discernment is just a way of God giving you peace about a situation, or God giving you a peace about somebody that we're talking about here. So all right, so let's look at another one here. Number 3, this one was interesting. And I know initially you thought, well, we could probably skip this one. But I thought, now that I think about it, it's something we've gone through as well. But it says, be willing to bear some loneliness while you're finding a safe path.
Yeah.
Because I think when anyone's hurt at a church, your first instinct is to find a new church.
Yeah.
I know statistically speaking, most people find a new church before they just say, I hate church, I hate people, I don't want anything to do it anymore. They're just going to find another church where they're more comfortable. So again, a lot of times this is where these things carry over to a new church. So how does that look when it says be willing to bear some loneliness? Because again, you're going to a new place with new people that have already built their community. They've built their small groups, they've got their worship teams, their greeting teams, their front door teams, all these things going on. And you're the outsider. Yeah. So how does that loneliness play into finding that safe path?
Well, it will be the fact that you will have to step outside of your comfort zone to find your niche, to find your spot, to find your place, to find your people, to find, all of those things. And so I think that there will be a time of loneliness in the sense that you don't have that community. And so it's going to be work. This is where we put down those unrealistic expectations, and we realize when we step foot back into a church that it's going to be work. It's going to be hard. It's going to, it's not just going to be, slide right in and it's all great. And here's your whole new community and we love you. Like, that's not going to be how it is. And so there is going to be a process of healing and work, of you having to say, okay, I'm here. I'm all in. I know that God has called me to serve. Here is my purpose, and let me find my place. And so, if you are somebody who is on the worship team, then go and audition and try out and do those things, or whatever that takes. Talk to the worship leader and step into those roles to help out. If you love kids, step in and do the background checks and do the training and get inside and start working with kids so that you start building that, community and those relationships with people. And I think the other part about adding, to this is that, yes, you're going to have loneliness for a period, but that may be a lot longer than you would ever think or imagine. Even as you start to get involved, even as you start working on building that community, is realizing that it's not just going to come overnight. And you are going to have to, as you're praying for discernment and wisdom, and as you are stepping into those roles, that you are doing that in the process that your heart can handle. Because if you try to rush it, well, then you're going to be right back at square one. So I think that that's the other part about it, is realizing it will take time, that it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a shocker to us, again, being in church for so long. I remember when we had moved to North Carolina to, get closer
My
to
favorite place
to
ever.
UNC to get some better health care for Emma at the time. We were, again, that's the first time in a really long time, I think, even since being married, that we were now outsiders.
Yeah.
We weren't on a staff. We weren't already at a church that we were a part of for a long time. And so we tried a couple different churches, and they just didn't feel right. They didn't click till finally we found one, which was ironically out of our comfort zone, because it was technically a mega church, bigger than what we're used to. But we just, it was the first time our kids really said, I love it.
It was.
They love the kids program, and our teenager loved the youth. So we're like, okay, that's what it's all about. We're parents. This is important for us. Let's get them in a place where they're happy. And we did. And so we started to get involved. And, but the first time we had gone there, again, it was that feeling right there. It's like, oh, this is so weird. I feel so small.
So weird. I'm just lost. To sit there and feel like, oh gosh, I don't know anybody in this building.
Nothing to do. I'm not behind stage, or I'm not tuning a guitar. I'm not, shaking hands out front with people. I'm not walking through the seats saying hi to new people. I'm just walking up and nobody knows who I am. This is weird.
And for you, you're such an introvert, and I am so not an introvert. And so, it was definitely weird to be in a place where you knew no one, and no one had expectations of you either. And I think that is the interesting part about stepping into a new church, when you're just going to just sit and learn and, hear from God, and to just rebuild and restore your life. And so when you go and you sit and you're not in leadership or ministry or involved in anything, that's the other thing, is that people don't have expectations of you either. Just like we don't have we shouldn't go in with expectations of the church, but they don't have them of you. And that was the other thing about walking in there, was no one had a clue that you were a worship leader, as long as you were, and that we had done children's ministry and youth ministry and all of these things that, no one had any clue of who we were and what we have done and what our gifts are. And so that was the other thing that was super strange too.
Yeah.
So,
but again, that's that loneliness you kind of hang on to until you open up.
Yeah.
Until you talk to the right person. I talked to the lady that was, leading the music in the interim period they were at. She needed help, so I started playing guitar, started leading songs up there, and again, so there was, as that started happening, then that loneliness is what kind of disappeared. But I've never really thought about it till I read this article about how true that is. How weird is it that you have to be willing to. You have to be expecting a little bit of loneliness at first, until you open up, until you talk to people, until you step out and tell people, here's what I've been doing at my other church, or this is where my ministry degree is in, or this is what I've been doing for a long time. I have experience doing this. When you start doing that, but until you do that, most people just think, oh, cool, another family. Great to have you guys here. We hope you enjoy the service. And that's what you get.
Here's a gift.
Yeah.
Come back again next
mug.
week.
Here's our mug with our logo on it, right?
Yeah. Here's a pen.
Or a pen, yeah. So, expect a little loneliness.
Yeah, definitely.
In that time of transition, while God's healing you, and while you're discerning what parts of your life to open up and to share.
Yeah.
So I'm going to combine these two here that says, don't allow yourself to be pressured by anyone. Remember that you can say no without having to justify yourself. Now, I've shared with people in the past, anytime I've had, ministry job interviews or something, they always ask that same question: what's your biggest weakness? And I've always jumped back to avoiding conflict, because I don't like conflict. I'm a peacemaker. I'm like the one that likes to come in between people and be like, hey guys, let's fix this. So I hate conflict, and I especially don't like it when it comes pointed at me. And I just kind of do all my best to get that figured out once it happens. But I think because I've seen that as a weakness, I've really tried to work on it, and I've taken classes and all that stuff too. So that's been huge for me. And like I said, as an introvert, that's just not a natural gift that we have is conflict, for sure. So
I'm very proud of you for that.
Well,
you have definitely grown over the years. Way to go.
I'm yeah, I'm proud of myself too. And
You
I
should
say that as
be.
humbly as I can.
You really should be. You've
Thank
grown a lot in this area.
But I should be realistic and tell people that I have a hard time saying no.
Yeah, we do.
I am.
We do.
I don't, and it may be that conflict issue because I don't want people to think, well, I can never rely on Matt. He doesn't want to help. He doesn't want to, do this or do that. And so I have found myself saying yes to everything. I'm like Jim Carrey, yes, man. Because I don't want people to be upset. I don't want people to feel like I'm not there for them. I don't want people to feel like they can't rely on me. And so a lot of times that's gotten me wearing about 10, 15 hats in one experience, in one day, in one service, or in one event. And it's exhausting. And that's one of those things that I think any of us know that have been in church leadership leads to burnout fast.
Super fast.
Super fast. I'm talking like Lightning McQueen burnout,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you'll be lucky if you make it through the day sometimes. Yeah.
So, how do we go into a new church after being hurt by something or someone, and we don't allow ourselves to be pressured, or we don't allow people to keep asking us, so that we just easily say no without letting people know that it's not personal.
Right. So that they're not like, man, that guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that I am very quick to say yes all the time. I have actually gotten better at that. So I am proud of myself for that because, yes, you and I would kill ourselves. We would be so overwhelmed with things that we were doing. I think that the biggest thing that has to be in the back of our minds when we are saying no to something is the why behind the no. If the why behind the no is, well, I am not healed at this time, or I don't have the time at this moment, or I'm not ready at this moment, is that we understand that when we say no to something, it's not turning our back on the church or turning our back on God. It is making healthy boundaries and setting yourself up for success instead of for failure. And that's a very big thing for me, is making sure that when I go and step in to do something, I feel set up for success. And that's not always going to be the case, but at least I feel like if you know that ahead of time, to some degree of you have some kind of understanding of that, then you won't feel so frustrated. And I think the other part of saying no, like picking your no versus your yes, is, does it excite you? Do you feel passion for what that yes would bring? So if, you're asked to sing on the worship team and internally you're like, oh my God. Okay, if I was asked to sing on the worship team, Lord Jesus, help everybody, because anyone who knows me knows that
Joyful noise.
It ain't even joyful. Let's just say my mom won the worst karaoke singer in Kern County. Mom, I know, I'm sorry I'm sharing this stuff, but I love you. And I'm a product of that. So singing is not my gift. So if somebody came and said no, or can you come do worship? I'd be like, no, you don't want that. But so I think there's also understanding your limitations, your boundaries, your capabilities and that. But also, for me, if I was asked that, I'd be like, heck to the no, but go talk to Matt because he's amazing at that. And that's a passion of his. And so I think there's also understanding the why. That's my big thing about why are you saying no, and being able to discern that before you even start making, those kind of connections. So I think there's that boundary before you even step in the door. I'm just coming to learn today. I'm just, whatever that might look like. And so, yeah, saying no could be really hard for people pleasing, non-confronting people.
And I agree. I think at times you just have to be, and again, this isn't a gift of mine, is just being bluntly honest. And I don't mean hurtfully honest, but just bluntly honest that, I would love to help. I would really, really love to help you on this, but I got to be honest. I have got so many other things wrapped around my life right now. I just don't have the time, and I can't take on one more thing, to be honest. But I love you, and I promise I'll see if I can even find somebody that can do a better job than I could, you know? So I've thought about these things over time, especially when I became a lead pastor. I was already doing a lot because, you know, the church we were at, there was a lot going on. We were, you know, kind of rebooting and, you know, stepping in as lead pastor, and COVID hitting, all that stuff. So there was a big reboot. We were trying to do rebranding. And so, I was already pretty bogged down with tasks and so many different hats that I was wearing. And so anytime people needed me to do something, you know, if I couldn't do it, that was usually my response. I love you. No offense. I just don't, I don't have the time. I really don't have the time to get this done, but let me see if I can find somebody who can. And that was the most important thing, is to not leave people floating, you know, wondering, or leaving yourself leaving an expectation in their mind that you're unreliable, or that you're unapproachable.
And I do think, as somebody, you know, who has been in leadership, that when I ask a volunteer to do something and that's the response I get, the respect level is very different also from a leader's perspective, because I hear your heart in that, and you know, are far more valuable than the service that you provide. And so hearing your heart in that, as somebody who is relational, as somebody who, like, for me, relationships really matter. And so for me to see and to hear, hey, here's my heart. I'm sorry, I'm overwhelmed by all of these other things, but let me, you know, see if I can at least point you in the direction of somebody. That to me makes a world of difference in how I view that person as I go forward. So I think that that's the other side of the no, is your integrity. And making sure that what you're saying and doing, you're not just like, heck to the no, peace out, I don't want anything to do with this. That you are able to have a response in those times where you have to say no, that honors God.
Yeah. I think it also plays into how coming to a new church feels too, because all the different people involved in different ministries, different ministry leaders around the church, they're going to see a new man. They're going to see a new woman. They're going to see 3 new kids. And so it's going to be, hey, man, why don't you come join our men's group on Tuesday morning?
Yeah.
And while you're still grieving your last church or that leader that hurt you, the last thing you want to do is dive right into something. And so I also think in those moments, too, where somebody's saying, come join our men's ministry, or come join our women's small group. Oh, we got a women's event happening this weekend, or something like that. It's important, again, to be honest, to be bluntly honest, and say, man, I'm just checking the church out. We're new here, and you know, I don't know. We just want to see what it's like. We want to see if it's something our kids like here at the church and everything. But I really appreciate the invite.
Yeah.
And I think, and things like that, because being in a new church, you know, you don't want to, again, you don't want that stigma. You don't want that reputation of unapproachability or stuck up or unhelpful. So a lot of times we, you know, and this has been my weakness in the past, was just saying yes, because sure, I'll come to it. It sounds fun.
And then you're complaining all morning long.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta go to this stupid thing. Oh, this is horrible. I'd rather be punched in the face, you know, brutally all day long. So,
or that.
So anyways, yeah, we can stop beating that dead horse here for sure, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to wrap up with this one here. I think it's a perfect tie up to what we've been talking about, because we've already talked about judging churches from the past and those unrealistic expectations, but walking into a new church with that expectation that nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, churches don't care about my family, that it's important that we don't think that no one will care about us again. It's crazy how, as human beings, we can allow the actions of one person to destroy the way we serve God, the way we serve people. And we take that one person's opinions of us, we take that one person's hurt that they've caused us, and we throw it on 200 or 300 more people in a whole new church.
Yeah.
And then thinking that they don't care about me. And I just think, in all my years of ministry, in all the churches we've been at, whether we were serving or we just attending or just checking out, that's one thing I always wanted to be sure that I kept in my heart, was that, like you said a moment ago, not all of these people are bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the church isn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders aren't bad. People just make bad choices sometimes that hurt people. But to know that there are people, there is a ridiculously amazing majority of people in churches in the world that care about you.
Yeah.
That want the best for you, that want God's best for you.
Absolutely.
And that they're going to do what they can in their power to see that happen in your life. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I think, you know, again, wrapping up with that thought here, is that it's easy just to take that one opinion, let it drive how we move forward. And I'm living proof of that one person can just destroy how I let everyone else into my life. But there are so many people I have met since being here in Texas, since even moving on from other places, that the relationships are just phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can think, man, when I've trusted people again, and when I've talked to certain leaders again, that I'm still in great relationship with, and I could probably bet my life on the fact that they would never intentionally hurt me in any way, shape, or form, but they truly care about me, my family, and my well-being and my growth as a Christ follower. And that is something that's been so encouraging to me in learning to trust again, learning to trust being in a new church, being in a new place after being hurt from somewhere else, is that there are so many people that care.
Absolutely.
And I can't throw that opinion of one bad leader onto them.
I agree. You summed that up very well. You did. I feel like I've got nothing for that. You just knocked that one out of the park. No, I fully agree with that. And I know that's been an area that has been a challenge for you, to make sure that you keep that in front of your mind with people. And it's hard when you've been hurt, to remember people still care, that not everyone is like the person who just hurt you. And so I think that's a big deal.
I mean, I remember walking in here to our church in Texas and meeting the senior pastor, and still carrying those hurts, you know, or bringing those hurts from the former church. And okay, how's my senior pastor going to treat me? What if he doesn't like me? Is he going to treat me like the last guy? Is he going to cut me down? Is he going to tear me down? But that's something that I think in this whole healing process, God showed me, was that here's one who cares.
Absolutely.
And I am still absolutely great friends. You know, and I'll say it, Gary is one of my most favorite people in the world. He is an amazing leader and amazing mentor. Yep. And helped me become the lead pastor that I eventually became. Yeah. For sure. And so those are the things that sometimes there is this beautiful, what do you call it? The silver lining around the dark cloud. And it's people like this that realizing that there are people, there is the majority of people care.
Absolutely.
It's the minority of people that are out to hurt and out to destroy, or out to do what they can to get you to move on so they don't have to deal with it, or something like that. Yeah. And so I'm thankful that that's a realization that came to me a long time ago, that I was able to trust again, because I realized, man, he really cares about me. He cares about my family. He cares about me becoming a better leader than I walked in these doors on October 31st, 2017. You know? Yeah.
It's almost, been
almost 5 years.
But I think that's so true. I think God, and this is where, when you're praying for discernment and you're praying for wisdom and you're asking God to show you who and where, and to connect with the right people and to put the right people in your path. And God's like, here, let me send you to Lago and meet Gary, and let Gary help rebuild you, because I've given him the gifts that's going to help that with you. And that has been amazing. And we still are very connected with them. I talked to Joyce today. We're still very connected with them. And so
totally
I think
name dropping here.
We are. Sorry, guys. But no, it is true. And I think that is a couple that, and I don't mind sharing their names. I mean, obviously we have, but I think that they deserve that recognition, because God has used them in such a mighty, mighty, mighty way to restore trust in us and to help us rebuild and to help us become who we are today. And that's something that I would just throw out and encourage to all of you guys, is that in the middle of your hurt and in the middle of your pain and in the middle of the forget this, God, I'm not coming back. Our church, just did an I quit series about this. And, it's so easy for us to say, God, I quit. I'm not doing church anymore. I'm not going to walk in those doors anymore because people suck and I don't want anything to do with them. Mm-hmm. And then when you stop for a minute and you just let God work on your heart and you ask for discernment, you ask for guidance, you ask for those people to be put in your life, He will. And you have to have the faith that He is going to do that. And that is how you heal as you move forward. We went through 6 of the 7 things that, Linda Elliott had shared. And I think that that's the thing that's just incredible, is to stop for 1 minute and realize that in the middle of the chaos that God has somebody already in mind. He already knew what you were going to go through. So He already knows who you need to help you heal. And so just ask for that person. And then the rest of this is all going to help fall in line with the right mentor, the right leaders, and the right person to come beside you and help you and encourage you and pick you back up. We talked about like that army crawl last week, and that might be where you are. So let your mentor help you with that. Let them help you, just start moving, because as soon as you start moving forward, you're going to keep that momentum and you're going to keep going forward. So,
yeah. And I would just say the last thing I could think of is, as you move forward, is in your prayer time, ask God to help you heal. Open my heart to heal, God, and open my heart to learn. Mm-hmm. Let me learn from my mistakes, because even us who've been hurt, we're still broken people. We still hurt people, and I know I have in the past. And so it's important that when I'm trying to heal myself, that I open my heart to say, God, help me learn from my past. Help me to learn from my past mistakes. Help me to learn from all the past hurts, and open my heart to heal, whatever it takes. So.
And for those of you who, we did say there were 7 things and we've only hit on 6. And so for those of you who are like, you are not going to end without giving us the number 7, because that's just mean. We'll just share it real fast. It's avoiding the tendency to judge churches on the actions of people in your past. So we've hit on that a lot. That's why we didn't really,
That's why I said, I think that kind of lined up with the unrealistic expectations.
It absolutely
going
did.
into a church and expecting something bad to happen.
But we did say there were 7. And so I didn't want you guys to think that we were just avoiding number 7 for some reason, but we did already discuss that with you guys. And so, yeah, I would say if you were in the middle of a church hurt, you have been hurt by the church in the past, or maybe you are going through that at this very minute, reach out to us. You can private, message us, DM us, whatever that looks like, but reach out to us and let us, 1, pray with you, but 2, walk beside you. We have endured numerous church hurts, and we are sitting here in front of you, in front of these mics, in front of the camera, talking to you guys today to say you absolutely can overcome it. And when you are called to serve and called to be in ministry, and whatever that looks like in your life, God has a purpose and a plan for you, and He will heal you when you give it back to Him and trust in Him and allow Him, to start that work in your life. And you are prepared to do the work, because that's part of the process.
Yeah. In the words of the great gospel singer Russ Taff, I still believe.
On that. There you go.
Through all the pain, through all the hurt, through all the darkness, so much in our lives, we still believe. We still trust. We still know that God is bigger than our hurts. He's bigger than our church hurts. He's bigger than our fears, our worries, our mistakes, and He is a healing God. No matter what it is, no matter what parts of our lives are broken, what parts of our lives are hurting, He is a healing God.
Yep.
And that's the joy of being a Christ follower. Is that's all of us.
Absolutely. We have been through so many things where we've been hurt by people, And it has, caused the hurts and the pains and the devastation that we've, shared some of that with you. But the one thing that remains true is that we've never been hurt by God.
Yeah.
And he has always been faithful. He has always done, above and beyond what we could ever ask or imagine. And we always know that he loves us, and that is where we find our strength. And, it's that concept that we shared when we talked about Emma, that God trusts us. He trusts us with her, but he also trusts us with the things that he's put in front of us. He's trusts us with the talents that he has given us. And with that, he will, we just need to trust him that he will carry us through the hurt and the pain, because he's a God of love, and he is going to carry us through. So we just have to not put our trust in the church, but put our trust in God.
That's right. Amen. Amen, sister.
Hallelujah.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us on episode 6. Again, as we talked about learning to trust the church again. Hope this was encouraging for you. Hope that it's helped you take a few steps forward in your healing from church hurt. And again, let us know how we can help any way, shape, or form. DM us, write it as a comment, email, whatever, however it is you want to talk to us. Let us know, and we'll be willing to definitely share our experiences with you even more. So,
yep. And don't forget to like, share, follow, do all those things, and stay connected with us. Whenever you do that, you will get notifications when these pop up, when our new episodes are released. We do try to release them consistently on the Thursday.
Yeah. It's still Thursday, right?
It's still Thursday.
4 more hours.
A little bit late today.
Depending on where in the U.S. you are.
That's true. But we do try to release every Thursday. This was a long week, so you're getting it late on a Thursday. But nonetheless, we love you guys. We are so incredibly grateful that you are on this journey with us as we are unraveling the things that we are living through and walking through, and unraveling all the things that are in front of us. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of who we are and sharing in our lives. And we love y'all, and we are glad you're here.
And thank you for taking that journey with us.
Absolutely. Well, have a great night, great day, whatever time it is.
Awesome week.
We'll see you later. Bye.